Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about how to create a current marketing challenge presentation using the pecha method. The current marketing challenges serves for us to be able to have a better understanding of things that are going on in today's competitive environment. A pecha presentation consists of 20 slides that are each discussed for 20 seconds by the presenter. Each of these slides is only a picture, and these pictures are supposed to represent the topic at hand. So the main area that we've focused on so far in this course has been chapter one in the marketing strategy side, and that goes from us having organizational objectives, organizational strategies, marketing objectives, and then we develop our marketing strategies accordingly. So similar to military, as we discussed before, military strategy, we can think of our marketing strategy where it's a big picture where there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that we have to react to. So sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board. Firms, due to COVID-19, they had a big shock sent to their entire system. Pretty much all firms were affected by this. Now, some firms, they were able to maintain a strong balance, whereas others were not so fortunate in being able to react well to that. One industry that we're going to talk about is the news industry. Now, most of you are probably familiar with news articles and reading news, whether it's been on your phone or online or even a tablet, where you've accessed some form of news in the last year. Well, these news companies, along with pretty much every company during the COVID crisis, had to make a decision. They couldn't go down two different paths. They had to select a path that they were going to go on. And so with that, they were really struggling. Well, where should I go? With the news industry, some companies like, for instance, Wall Street Journal or even Bloomberg, they had to let go of some of their employees. Well, other companies like Business Insider, they actually had to increase their hiring during the COVID crisis. So just to give you a little bit of background on how these news companies make money, they make money off of the digital ads, typically the digital ads that are placed on the sides or in the news feed of the news article. And I'm sure you've all seen one of those ads. But because COVID had such a big impact on all these different companies, businesses had to tighten their budgets. And when they tightened their budgets, they didn't have as much money to be able to spend on advertising as they had in previous years. And we can see that ad spending, online ad spending in particular, dropped significantly. It only grew to 1.7% here, whereas in other years it had been growing at a 20 to 25% growth rate. Now, and that's because people didn't have the money to afford digital ads. So despite all of these consumers who really wanted all this strong content from these news providers, and they were basically begging these news providers for more content, they couldn't do it because it was costing them too much money. So a lot of these companies, these news companies, they went out of business because they didn't have the ads to support their business. The ads were the things that kept them going because companies spent money on ads that were presented on their platforms. Well, one company that did really well during the pandemic was Business Insider. And the reason why they did well is because they focused on their subscriptions and focused on the content that they were providing to consumers. And with that, they had a huge increase, a 30% increase in their subscribership during the pandemic. While Business Insider is one of the smaller subscription platforms for news, they are increasing by leaps and bounds in comparison to their competitors. So the point of this is that Business Insider, prior to the pandemic, they had decided that they wanted to focus on their subscribership, and they stayed the course of their strategy was to increase subscribers. So they had the strategy, they wanted to increase subscribership, but they most likely had to change their tactics. Well, they did. And that's one thing, that changing your tactics while maintaining your strategy is perfectly acceptable. Strategy should be flexible enough to be able to change our tactics at any given moment. So Business Insider, their tactics that they had to focus on was they divided their news stories from their viral content, because obviously consumers, they want a lot of news, but not all news stories are viral. They don't go viral. So by splitting these two areas, the news content and the viral, they were able to create a snowball effect where the viral content brought consumers to the Business Insider platform for subscriptions, and brought more consumers to the platform to increase the amount of money that they were gaining from digital ad spend. So even though that there's a lot of competition in this market between, say, for instance, like Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, New York Times, with these two pieces of the puzzle, the news content and the viral content, Business Insider stands a really good chance at being the best in the market.